and welcome to another Melta podcast. With me today is a dear friend and colleague, Irina Trofimova. Irina,
Hello.
hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. You're our friend, and we know a lot of things about each other's. But for the sake of the podcast, I would like to pretend that I didn't know you. So, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Irina Trofimova. I've been working in education for the last 24 years across 3 countries. So I have worked in language schools, in private institutions. I have worked in a pedagogical university. At the moment, I'm working at a college in Bournemouth. This is the UK. Um, and I guess that's it.
Okay. You came from Ukraine, just like
Yes.
just like me. And before I get into the comparisons, I know it's for a lot of people, myself included, it's emotionally difficult to talk about it, but we need to do it. Um, Around the war, like shortly before the war and during the war, how was your life? Were you expecting to happen, or you were just in some kind of denial that no, the 21st century, we are in Europe, it's impossible to happen. What can you tell us about these days before and during the war when
Well,
it started?
I should say that I have probably a unique situation. I'm a Ukrainian refugee with a Russian passport because I was born in Russia. So I was waiting for my Ukrainian citizenship, and I had 3 more months to go, and then the war started. And I guess I always thought that um, like people kept saying war, 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 but it continued for so long that I didn't actually believe because, again, as you mentioned, it's the center of Europe, 21st century. We have signed Budapest Memorandum, so I was sure that the UK and the USA would stand up, and help to protect us. So even if something happens, this is like a week or two, and then it would come down. If you think about Georgia, attack on Georgia, it was vicious, but it was very short, right? I guess I didn't believe it till the end, until I saw Putin's speech. I think it was the 21st of February. I saw his speech on TV, and this was the moment I realized that something big is coming. So that was the moment I packed my suitcase, what they advised, documents or necessary documents, some food, some essentials, um, chocolate, and after that, I thought that I was ready, but no one is actually ready for you know for the war.
I see, I see. As far as I remember, we spoke after a while, and you told me you were in Poland, I think.
No, initially, to tell the truth, initially I went to a small village, to Cherkasy. I thought that no one is going to be interested in bombing a small village. And then I realized that I'm on the wrong side of the river. So I thought, what if the bridge that crosses Dnipro is bombed, and I'm left with the kids and the dog because I took the kids, I took 3 kids, I took my dog, and I ran. And I decided to go and maybe visit my relatives in Uzhgorod. So I called a taxi because they don't have a car. And that was the longest taxi ride in my life because Bolt was evacuating their taxi cars to the Western Ukraine. And they agreed to take me and children for, I think, $1,000. But I decided that, yeah, I know, but I mean, life is more expensive than that, right? And that was all the way to Uzhgorod. So then when the taxi driver arrived, he definitely didn't want to take my dog. So he said, it's either your suitcase that fits or the dog's crate. And my dog is with me, and I have still zero clue what happened to my suitcase. So basically, when I came to Uzhgorod, I didn't have a single piece of clothing apart from what I had on me. And it took us 5 days to get there because big cities were closed for the curfew. And um, there were so many traffic jams, people trying to save children going towards Western Ukraine. Um, and I'm calling my relatives, and they say, "Are you coming?" I say, "Yeah, who is with you?" I said, "My three kids and the dog." And that was the last time I heard from them. So basically, I crossed the border and a distant
Since
relative.
you're talking about Uzhgorod, so I think the Slovak border.
Uh,
Since you're talking about Uzhgorod.
Uzhgorod. Yeah. So
So you crossed the border with Slovakia, I guess.
yes, I crossed the border with
Yeah,
Slovakia
it's the same
because,
borders we crossed.
yeah, because I have my ex-husband's brother was married to a German lady, and he borrowed a minivan from school. She worked in school, and he came and picked us up. So for 3 months, we lived in Germany. Yeah, so I have some experience living in Germany as well. Um,
And how did you or why did you decide to? Well, now I know why, but back those days, did you decide to move to England? What's your decision, or
I was
just came and?
absolutely Yeah, I was absolutely sure that it's all going to end very soon. And then at some point of these 3 months, I don't know, for me in my brain, like Putin really likes big dates. So for me, it was obvious that he wants to gloriously finish the war until the 9th of May, because this is a date that's important for him. So I thought it's either going to be finished by the 9th of May or it's going to continue for many, 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 many years, sadly. And when I was sitting, we couldn't stay with our German family. So, and refugee camps do not accept dogs. You have to give up the dog to the shelter. So the question was to find some kind of accommodation which would accept three kids and a dog. And we found a church. So we lived in a church basement for 3 months. That was fun. I've never lived in a church before. um, yeah, so a friend of mine, very good colleague, we used to work together some time ago. She's been married to a British person, and she messaged me saying, "Are you aware that Britain is opening a new program for refugees? I don't know if you're aware what are the conditions of Homes for Ukraine. So you need to find a British family that is ready to host you free of charge for at least half a year or a year. They give you the house. You don't pay anything for that. And again, I have three kids and a dog. What are my chances?" But she found an amazing. They're members of our family. They are a British family, an amazing couple. They had the permanent house in Peterborough and Bournemouth. Well, Christchurch. This is close. This is like one big town. They had the holiday house, so they just gave us the holiday house. And I said, "Well, I'm not sure that it's worth it. The war is about to end. And she said, well, even if the war finishes tomorrow, think about it. You will go. It's the seaside. It's the most southern part of England, so the sunniest, the warmest. Um, you will spend the summer with your kids at the seaside, and then in September, just get back to Ukraine. And I thought, yeah, that's a good plan. And here we are. It's been 3.5 years, but I love this place. Although, if this is the warmest and and sunniest England can offer, then it's very sad.
I see. Well, I know it's, well, I hope it's not too early to say that, but in the future, if everything uh, becomes good in Ukraine and life
Hopefully, yeah.
returns, are you planning to stay in England, or you're like me? You're planning to go back?
Uh, at the moment, there are several factors that make me want to stay. First of all, I compared, like if you don't know that something exists, you don't want it. Once you meet it, you fall in love with that. So um, I love Ukraine, but I understand all its pluses and minuses even before the war, especially if we talk about education. At the moment, the situation, as far as I see, is even worse. And I can compare. So my younger kids went to school here. They sadly, like I'm a specialist in early education, early language education. I always thought that mother tongue will stay with its, well, I'm ashamed to say that my kids don't speak any other language but English. 3.5 years later, they speak English to each other, they speak English to me. Um, Although I try to support native language, but it doesn't work that way. And it's not just my kids, all the Ukrainian kids that I see here switched into English. Moreover, one of my kids is so-called SEN, so he has special educational needs. He's autistic. Knowing how the system works in Ukraine, I cannot imagine him going to an ordinary school. Um, he would be there is no chance for him to be academically successful. Meanwhile, here he has a lot of extra. He has his personal assistant free of charge. He has Lego therapy free of charge. He has his own like counselor who promotes his emotional growth. And of course, and this is just an ordinary school. So this is like not private. I'm not paying for this. This is uh, baseline. Mm, Another thing is my health. When I moved to England, I wasn't aware that Britain is actually one of the leading countries in oncology. So the treatments that I receive now wouldn't be possible in Ukraine. In Ukraine, I would already be dead. So, right.
Well, glad you're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, people keep saying that you you have a special sort of magic to make things happen. But I also should say that when we moved to England, lots of people wrote to me saying, "Oh my God, you're so lucky you moved to England. How did you do that?" And I'm not lucky. I've been studying English for 30 years to be that fluent, to be able to talk to my potential hosts, right, and persuade them that I'm worth their well, them hosting me and my family. Um, so it's not luck, it's hard work. And um, people who say that this is just luck, no, never.
Well, I know what you're talking about because I'm 36 years old, and when I started learning English, I was 6 years old. So I've been learning English for 30 years at school, then at university. My higher education is English language. I work with English. I speak in English. I talk to my wife in English, to my colleagues in English, to my students in English, and every time I hear myself when I'm working on the podcast, when I listen to myself, I hear, oh.
Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah,
My English will never improve. This is, just an elementary person just making his first steps learning English. I'm never satisfied with my English, never. And
but
yeah,
I think this is the secret. You shouldn't be ever satisfied. There is always room for perfection. So
there is, but that's me. I think they call it perfectionist or something, and
yeah,
they are not the best people to try and convince that it's okay not to be
I agree.
perfect. Yeah, it will never work.
Um,
Okay, so you said since we started about teaching, you said that you are
yeah,
especially in early early childhood or early education.
yeah. So
Um, I remember, yeah, I remember the first time we met. We were during training in Odessa in Ukraine.
yeah.
How did you start the whole thing? Did you choose it yourself, or it was the only like job available and you took it?
Um,
Tell me about your
that's
first steps.
well. The thing is, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I don't know why. Since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be an English language teacher because I studied Finnish language at school, and I absolutely hated English. And then it just, I don't know, kind of clicked. I fell in love with the language, you know. And when I was in my second year of university, my former school invited me part-time to teach difficult, difficult classes. The problem was that no one wanted to take them. There were a series of issues and events the previous academic year, which made absolutely every teacher refuse these groups. So I was asked to take specifically two groups. And my first introduction to them wasn't very successful because I was hardly, you know, much older than them. They were in the year five, so they ranged from 11 till 15 because some of them stayed several years in the same grade. This is what happens if you fail your year. Um, not in England, but post-Soviet education does that. Um, and I cried in the toilet absolutely after absolutely every class. I kept poker face when I was inside the classroom, and then I went and just poured my heart out. Um, that was the beginning. Uh, but then when I had to change countries, the thing is, I've been building my reputation for many, many years. And by the time I had to leave Russia for political reasons, um, that was my first 6 months as director of studies of a language school. It was such a pity to lose this job because I've been trying to prove that I can do it for several years, and that was the job of my dreams. And then you come to another country, no one knows you, and you have to start from the very beginning. You are again just an English language teacher with maybe good um, good CV, right? But at the same time, people are afraid to take on a person who used to be director of studies because this is way too high. This person is going to want more very, very soon. So, and working as a freelancer, there is only so many students that you can take in a day, right? At some point, you start to kind of group them, and then there is a problem with the payment. Someone is ill, someone is on holiday. So I thought, what can I do? I need to invent the job that I want to do. And I became an educational consultant. So I went to private schools, well, pri either private schools or language schools. I was present at the um, lesson because this is what I did back at home when I took students to pedagogical practice. And after that, I gave my comments, and we would work with the school administration to think about what workshops this specific school or language school needs. And after that, several months after, there was like checkup. We will go and see if things have improved or not. And I absolutely loved being an educational consultant. And then I moved to England, and again, I need to prove myself again. Yeah,
Everywhere. Yeah. Okay. So you taught in Russia, you taught in Ukraine, and you taught
yeah,
in. Now we are teaching in England.
in England. Yeah.
Apparently, you have some good experience. Can you share some differences, something you have experienced, something you have noticed or seen? Once, let's take Ukraine and England for example.
Yeah. Well, in if we talk about language schools and English language teaching, usually Ukrainian teachers rely on the course book, right? So there are course books, there are materials, there is like teacher's pack, and you follow it and you have to do it in a year. In England, surprisingly, they don't do course books at all. They have a big library for zero copying, and the teacher just chooses which parts they like for this specific class. Um, um, English people don't believe in any education but the British education. So you can forget about all of your certificates. You can forget that you actually have a degree. Um, they were impressed by my Cambridge certificates, and also I was well, my highest is CPE, so um, they took that. With my um, red diploma, here it's like first degree diploma. They said we don't need it. We don't know what it is, though officially you can do the comparison, but they're not going to accept it. So you have to start from the very beginning. You have to go like through teacher training. And with you are going to be students who are maybe 16, 17 years old. Um, so I decided um, not to get into this thing. Um, the most interesting part that I found out, because for one summer, I worked with a big international language school. Um, I said that there is no luck, but surprisingly, out of all the cities in England, I got to Bournemouth. Bournemouth is one of the main language centers for language schools. So in winter, the town is 200,000 people. In summer, with English language students coming to visit, because it is being advertised worldwide, is seaside resort and English language classes. It's 2 million. So there is a certain thirst for English language teachers. And every year I'm invited by several language schools. And I worked for one summer. And I should say that there is absolutely huge difference when you work with students who understand your language or who are from the same country. And if you work with students who come from absolutely different backgrounds, so one from Italy, one from Germany, one from China, one from, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, they are very different. And in terms of methodology, it's much more difficult because especially if you need to explain vocabulary or complicated grammar, you can't switch into any common language. You don't have any language in common. And even if you advise Google Translate, some languages do not have the words or grammar structures, that would be appropriate to the situation. So it's much more challenging, I should say. It is interesting. Um, yeah,
So both you and I are non-native speakers of English, and unless we are special people, like too special, I'm not. So we can't speak the language as a British person.
true.
Uh, have you ever, inside in Ukraine or England, have you ever been in a situation when the fact you're not a native speaker somehow had a negative effect on you being hired or employed by a school or by any other, let's say, learning institute or school, or no one no one cared?
I should say that although I haven't faced such situations, but I'm aware of colleagues who sadly weren't hired because of the strong accent. Moreover, this summer, I got a phone call from one of the language schools here in England, and they said, "We are in drastic need of teachers. Could you recommend someone?" And I know several ladies who are from Ukraine. They are good teachers, so they know methodology, um, but the accent is a little bit too strong. So they didn't pass the interview. And the feedback from the lady was that we are not looking for native speakers because we know that we won't find native enough native speakers. Moreover, native speakers are not interested in teaching English. Um, and I think even if they're interested, they work somewhere abroad because that would be more interesting for them. Um, but yes, it is a problem. It is a problem, and working on pronunciation is important. They say like we're looking for someone who has pronunciation like yours, but also you should remember that um, like England, I don't want to say Britain because of several factors, but England's system of education, especially jobs like, so you wouldn't work as a teacher, but you would work as a teacher assistant. So teacher assistants, all the support workers that support students at schools or universities or colleges, they are non-native speakers. And it is so obvious, for example, in the job that I do now at the college, out of 8 people who are my colleagues, only one person is British. And she sees it as the first step towards teaching career. Although, again, I was already invited several times to work as a tutor for ESOL faculty at the college. But there are only so many years that you can teach present perfect without going crazy, to tell the truth. I'm not ready. What I do now, I like much more. I enjoy much more. And this is my dream job.
Okay. You know that most teachers, if we're not talking about governmental schools or universities, most of them are freelancers. Um, and you know, as a freelancer, you actually don't have if you are sick or ill, so you're staying home, no one cares. And sometimes, unfortunately, we work with people who use it as an advantage to, you know, save some money.
Yeah,
Uh, you feel that you are left alone, so you're only valuable when you are working, when you are bringing money to business, and when you are ill, even if you're ill during doing your job. For example, you catch virus during a lesson, no one cares.
absolutely.
Have you ever been in a situation when a health issue, could be flu, could be any other health issue? I know your situation. But have you ever experienced, let's say, shameful behavior without mentioning names?
I
Without
would
mentioning names,
say,
yeah.
yeah, I would say that that was open discrimination. So when I was first diagnosed, that was back in Ukraine. And at that time, again, because as mm, I think the best thing that a teacher can do is to diversify, the sources of income. So at that time, I signed a contract with a very big company, and I was the representative, and this is when I was diagnosed. Um, I was ready to keep on working, and as you see at the moment, I'm also working through, you know, through the illness. Um, but the management, the answer was our clients do not need our problems. I said, but I would be wearing a wig. No, no. The problem with the contract was that it stated that I cannot represent myself. So it meant that I couldn't um, give workshops in my name, right? So they took away my source of income and they didn't offer anything in exchange. And that was actually, again, like some people say that I'm crazy, but I'm always looking for new opportunities. So even in bad things, I'm trying to find something good. Um, the thing is, 2 months before, I was approached by a small IT startup who were making um, who were trying to make a language app, but they had zero clue what they were doing because they had zero clue about methodology and anything. They just had a programmer, a designer, and basically that was it. So they approached me, and the offer sounded like, I can't offer you any kind of stable income, but I can offer you something like $50 a month. And I said, first of all, my contract forbids me that. And secondly, $50, really, like, so I refused.
What would you do with all of that money? It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then all of a sudden, this person calls me and says, I've heard about your situation. At the moment, I'm transferring into your bank account $200. This is all that I have. And I want you to work for me. And this is how my 4-year-old product management started. So by the end of the treatment, it was much more than $50. To tell the truth, in Ukraine, I earned more that I'm earning now in England. Um, there are certain um, options, but still, this is the truth. So I it's not just triple my income. It was um,
Respect. It was
thank you.
respect. No, no,
Yeah, well,
yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. I mean, it's what the respect that people
yeah.
showed you respect.
And for example, they
Yeah.
would the company because it's a small IT, small startup. They would be some of us would be in Odessa, some of us would be in Kharkiv, some of us would be in, I don't know, Cherkasy, and from time to time we would meet. And the owner of the business would call me and say, Irina, would you like to meet? And I say, I'm sorry, this is my treatment day, so I have to go um, and he would go to the treatment with me and pick me up and take me to the restaurant with the rest of us. And um, I can't say how grateful I was for this kind of attitude. You know, I don't need pity. Um, I just want to be taken as any other normal person, and this is what he gave me. So at the moment, of course, with the situation in Ukraine, sadly, they had to, well, stop the operations. And this was one of the reasons why I decided to find a British job again, because um, English people do not see any other jobs outside of Britain as a valid job. So they say, and what do you do? And I say, I work for a small Ukrainian startup. No, but what do you do? And this is really weird. So I started my British job. I went to college to understand the system, and the system is so different between Ukraine and um, England. In some situations, it's much better, much better. In some situations, well, again, as a specialist, if it's done correctly, it should have been done differently. Um, but I'm trying to forget that I'm a methodologist, because otherwise I would be all the time I would like, why is it like that? Like we need to change it, and this is not my job at the moment.
Can you tell me in okay? You said that in some points Ukrainian is better system. Can you give me an
Yeah.
example?
Yeah, for example, again, as I say, my specialty is early years. So in Ukraine, parents can choose when their children go to school. There is a number of signs, physiological signs, that the child is ready to read and write, right? So like being able to touch the ear with their arm and so on. And for example, when my younger daughter was about to start school before the war, um, she was already 5.5. She would have been 6 years, 2 months for the 1st of September. The primary school teacher who talked to her said, no, you know what? She's not ready. She's not ready. In England, children go to school in the academic year when they turn 5. So when we came to England, she started, that's reception year, after that, year 1, year 2. So, for example, she would have started school at 4 years, 2 months. And then for example, by the end of year two, they already um, have tests on multiplication table and division. And well, she's coping, but she she was what, 6? Multiplication table at 6, we do it much later. And the problem is that, for example, especially with maths and English, the program is overloaded in primary school. And then in secondary school, all of a sudden, it becomes much easier and students relax. And then these are compulsory, well, mandatory exams in the end of school. And lots of people fail. Although the task would be, if you open something like, here is the ruler, measure the line from here to here. And like, students look at it and say, Miss, I don't understand what to do. You say, how can you not understand what to do? You just take the ruler and put it on, I don't know, a piece of paper. It is surprising for me. But at the same time, the system is much more humane towards people who have learning difficulties, to people who have some kind of mental issues, to people who have some sort of problems. There is so much support. This is like, British don't understand how happy they are to have this system of education and to have this system of medical service, to have the NHS, because the way people treat each other, teachers treat teachers, teachers treat students, teachers treat parents. In Ukrainian system, if this is teacher-parent meeting, teachers would shame students who failed something. Here, you don't have like overall meetings, so none of children know what other children had for say test. This is one-to-one between the teacher and the parent, and they explain how far is the student from the um, goal. And again, this is, it's just so, there is so much humanity in what they do. And this is a very different society. So at the moment, I'm experiencing health issues, right? So when I was diagnosed, I had something like 18 groups a week. And I need to go, sometimes I don't feel well, sometimes I need to go to the hospital, sometimes well, there are lots of different things. So a person was hired to be present with me in the classroom. In case, if I'm tired, I can say, could you please proceed with the lesson, and just go. And it didn't influence my salary or anything. And I can't imagine this situation in Ukraine when someone says, you know what, you don't feel well. This person is hired especially to cover for you. So don't worry, go. Um, and this is,
You're looked at as a human being, not as
yeah,
money machine.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Although I can't say that I'm like top management or something. Um, so this difference of attitude is everything. And it's everywhere. It's the way, like, cashier calls you love or puppet. Um, it's the way everyone walks into the bus and say cheers mate to the bus driver, and then leave, and say again cheers mate. um Imagine walking into the bus in Ukraine and say like hi. The bus driver would think
Well,
like,
my wife would say when we used to live in Ukraine, I would say hello and goodbye. Well, of course, in Russian, every time we enter the shop, even if we didn't buy anything, and my wife would say, "Why do you do that?"
yeah,
She said,
that's the thing.
Because we're human beings. I mean, we say hi, even if you don't know the person, and we say thank you or
Yeah,
goodbye. Like it's normal. Just say
and it's normal.
we don't do that. So sorry, I do it. I do it. So yeah, I know what you were saying. I know what you were
I
saying.
think everyone here is much more relaxed, maybe too relaxed, considering the political situation.
Well, I remember a lesson when I was talking with my students about ordering a car, and the client opened the taxi door, and the driver said, "Where are you going, love?" And they were all surprised. How can a person says love to another person who just met? Said, "Yeah, it's normal. It's
Yeah,
in other country. Okay, in England, it's okay. It's normal to call someone you just met love. It does mean,
yeah.
it's harassment or something. It's a sign of respect. Yeah. So I've heard some stories about England regarding that. So it's not the first time you know about that. Okay. Um, so the last question is what today call as a trend, which is the AI in English. Everyone has his own thoughts. Some people are old school, some people are new school, some people are in the middle. But do you use it? Do you think it helps you, or you think it's just a trend, will live for some time and then it'll die? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, personally, I am more old school. I know that I should explore its possibilities more, but so far, every my interaction with AI, I can't say that I was deeply impressed by the results. Um, as a person who works with students, I have to warn them against use of AI, because it is, well, some of the usages are okay, like use it for research, but you need to check the results and double check if such results actually exist. Brainstorming activities, it can be really quite helpful. But to use, like whole paragraphs, this is something that is strictly forbidden. And um, if the students are caught on that, the punishment is very, very, very strict. So um, I'm skeptical towards AI. I don't believe that, well, I believe that for some people, like different people learn differently. I used to be very, very, mm, I don't know, sure in my methodological ideas. But the more I learn about how people learn, the more I understand that each person's path is individual. So maybe for some of them, you know, AI and I don't know, AI chatbot, for example, would be quite helpful. It is possible. For some, it would be completely useless because this is not the way this person learns. So it depends. It depends. But overall, I'm very skeptical. It would never substitute a real life teacher.
It's like using fire to light the place and use fire to burn the place. Depends on who uses it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Very, very, very glad, very
Thank you.
happy to see you and to talk to you. Well, as I said before, we are friends, but during the podcast, I was pretending to be a stranger. That's the first time I met you. So, yeah. Okay. So, I want to say any final thoughts before we wrap up everything?
It was a very interesting experience. Thank you very much for that. And I really enjoyed thinking about differences in so like you feel them every day, yeah, but you don't have time to analyze. So I really enjoyed like trying to collect my impressions from different systems. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being with us. And thanks for everyone who's going to watch this podcast. Again, it's going to be in two versions, the video version and the audio version in Melta podcast and on my own channel. So thank you very much for watching and see you later in another podcast.